All right, and welcome everybody to the very first show of the new YouTube channel called Jay's Retro Toys and Games. And tonight we have one of the most popular games that's been around since the 1930s. Episode 1 is proudly going to tribute not only the gameplay, but the very elaborate history that this game has gone through. One of my favorites and one of yours. We're contributing Scrabble today on Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I want to welcome you to this first episode of Retro Toys and Games channel here on YouTube. I am Jason DeCanio, your genial host and moderator for this time here on YouTube. And of course, we're also going to be on Anchor, where you'll hear the audio more than the video. On YouTube, you'll get pictures, you'll get intros, you'll get animation, and a lot of all good things. And we would hope that you subscribe to both, because both are going to have places to be able to listen. And if you are just a person who likes to listen to the history without pictures, then you go to Anchor. Or if you are a YouTuber and you have a channel, please do subscribe to not only this channel, but The Legacy of New York, which is our main channel, where we talk about all of the people from not only Queens, New York, but in New York in general. But that's on for a later program. 3 days a week, we're going to be looking at retro toys and games. And tonight is no exception to the rule. This is a retro game, and it's been around since 1938. In fact, it's a game for 2 to 4 players to score big points on a game board divided into a 15 by 15 grid of squares. The tiles must form words that, in crossword fashion, read left to right in rows of or downward in columns and be included in the standard dictionary or lexicon. You know who I'm talking about. Right, the name Scrabble is a trademark of Mattel in most of the world, except in the United States and Canada, where it is a trademark of Hasbro. The game is sold in 121 countries and is available in more than 30 languages. Approximately 150 million sets have been sold worldwide, and roughly 1/3 of American and half of British homes have a Scrabble set. And there are approximately 4,000 Scrabble clubs around the world. And of course, all of our historic information comes from the Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, where we'll be getting not only the pictures, but of course, verbatimly giving you the history. Now, you know the game details. You know, it's played by 2 to 4 players on a square game board and printed with a 15 by 15 grid of cells, each of which accommodates a single letter tile. In official club and tournament games, play is between 2 players or occasionally between 2 teams, each of which collaborates on a single rack. The board is marked with premium squares, which multiply the number of points awarded. 8 dark red or triple word squares, 17 pale red double word squares, of which one, the center square, H8, is marked with a star or other symbol, 12 dark blue triple letter squares, and 24 pale blue double letter squares. Now, in 2008, Hasbro changed the colors of the premium squares to orange for triple word, red for double word, blue for double letter, and green for triple letter. But the original premium square color scheme is still preferred for Scrabble boards used in tournaments. Game contains 100 tiles, 98 of which are marked with a letter and a point value ranging from 1 to 10. The number of points for each letter tile is based on the letter's frequency in standard English. Commonly used letters such as vowels are worth 1 point, while less common letters score higher, with Q and Z each worth 10 points. The game also has 2 blank tiles that are unmarked and carry no point value. The blank tiles can be used as substitutes for any letter. Once laid on the board, however, the choice is fixed. Other language sets use different letter set distributions with different point values. And tiles are usually made of wood or plastic and are 19 by 19 millimeters in square and 4 millimeters thick, making them slightly smaller than the squares on the board. Only the rosewood tiles of the deluxe edition vary in width up to 2 meters for different letters. Traveling versions of the game often have smaller tiles. Sometimes they are magnetic to keep them in place. The capital letter is printed in black at the center of the tile face, and the letter's point value is printed in a smaller font at the bottom right corner. Most modern replacement tile sets come at 18 to 20 millimeters. S is one of the most versatile tiles in the English language, Scrabble, because it can be appended to many words to pluralize them, or in the case of most verbs, convert them to the third person, singular, present tense, and as in the word plummets. Well, Alfred Butts, who we'll look at in the history, included only 4 S tiles to avoid making the game too easy. Q is considered the most troublesome letter, as almost all words with it also contain U. A similar problem occurs in other languages like French, Dutch, Italian, and German, and J is also difficult to play due to its low frequency and a scarcity of words having it at the end. C and V may be troublesome in the end game, since no 2-letter words with them exist except for CH in the Collins Scrabble Words Lexicon. Now, for what we're looking for, the meat and bones of this whole game, the history. Well, in 1938, the American architect Alfred Mosher Butts, that's B-U-T-T-S, created the game as a variation on an earlier word game he invented called Lexico. The two games had the same set of letter tiles, whose distributions and point values Butts worked out by performing a frequency analysis of letters from various sources, including the New York Times. The new game, which he called Crosswords, added the 15 by 15 game board and the crossword-style gameplay. He manufactured a few sets himself, but was not successful in selling the game to any major game manufacturers of the day. Now, in 1948, James Bruno, a resident of Newtown, Connecticut, and one of the few owners of the original Crosswords game, bought the rights to manufacture the game in exchange for granting Butts a royalty on every unit sold. And although he left most of the game, including the distribution of letters, unchanged, Bruno slightly rearranged the premium squares of the board and simplified the rules. He also renamed the game Scrabble, a real word which means to scratch frenetically. Now, in 1949, Bruno and his family made sets in a converted former schoolhouse in Dodgingtown, Connecticut, a section of Newtown. They made 2,400 sets that year but lost money. Now, according to legend, Scrabble's big break came in 1952 when Jack Strauss, who was the president of Macy's, played the game on vacation, and upon returning from vacation, he was surprised to find that his store did not carry the game. He placed a large order, and within a year, everyone had to have one. Now, in 1952, unable to meet demand himself, Bruno sold manufacturing rights to Long Island-based Selchow and Ryder, and one of the manufacturers who, like Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley Company, had previously rejected the game. Harriet T. Ryder licensed the game from entrepreneur James Bruno in 1952. It's a nice little game. It will sell well in bookstores. She remembered saying about Scrabble when she first saw it. In its second year as a Selchow and Ryder product, 1954, nearly 4 million sets were sold. And Selchow and Ryder bought the trademark to the game in 1972. J.W. Spear, now a subsidiary of Mattel, began selling the game in Australia and the UK on January 19, 1955. In 1986, Selchow and Ryder was sold to Coleco, which soon afterward went bankrupt. Then Hasbro purchased the company assets, including Scrabble and Parcheesi. 1984, Scrabble was turned into a daytime game show on NBC. The Scrabble game ran from July 1984 to March 1990, with a second run from January to June of 93. The show was hosted by first run Wheel of Fortune, before Pat Sajak, Chuck Woolery. Its tagline in promotional broadcast was, "Every man dies, not every man truly Scrabbles." Yeah, I know. And in 2011, a new TV variation of Scrabble called Scrabble Showdown aired on the Hub Cable Channel, which is a joint venture of Discovery Communications, Inc. and Hasbro. So Scrabble was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2004. Wonderful. Sweet. The box rules included each copy of the North American edition. They have been edited about 4 times in 53, 76, 89, and 99. The major changes in 53 were as follows. It was made clear that words can be played through single letters already on the board. A player could play a word parallel and immediately adjacent to an existing word, provided all crossing words formed were valid. And the effect of 2 premium squares was to be compounded multiplicatively. The previously unspecified penalty for having one's play successfully challenged was stated: withdrawal of tiles and loss of turn. Then in 76, here were some more changes. It was made clear that the blank tile beats an A when drawing to see who goes first. It's interesting. A player could pass their turn, doing nothing. A loss of turn penalty was added for challenging an acceptable play. If final scores are tied, the player whose score was highest before adjusting for unplayed tiles is the winner. Now, in tournament play, a tile is counted as half a win for both players. The editorial changes made in 89 did not affect the gameplay. Then, 10 years later, in 99, here were the new changes. A tile can be shifted or replaced until the play has been scored. A challenge applies to all the words made in the given play. Playing all 7 titles is officially called a bingo in North America and a bonus everywhere else. A change in the wording of the rules could have been interpreted as meaning that a player may form more than one word on one row on a single turn. And then, well, there was a notation system. And in the notation system, the common, which is in tournament play, columns are labeled with the letters A through O and rows with the numbers 1 through 15. On Scrabble boards manufactured by Mattel, as well as on the Internet Scrabble Club, rows are lettered while columns are numbered instead. And a play is usually identified in the format XY word score or word XY score, which X denotes the column or row on which the player's main word extends. Y denotes the second coordinate of the main word's first letter, and word is the main word. Although it is unnecessary, additional words formed by the play are sometimes listed after the main word and a slash. And when the player of a single tile forms words in each direction, one of the words is arbitrarily chosen to serve as the main word for purposes of notation. And you know all the other rules that apply to Scrabble for all those who have played for decades, you know. We have come a long way, folks, when it comes to Scrabble. I am proud to say that I have played the game for, I played since I started when I was 6, and here I am at age 44, going on 45, so I played almost close to 39 years of playing. And I can remember my first attempts at playing Scrabble, where I was just playing those little 3-letter words that pretty much got my butt whooped. Then, of course, as we get older, we learn more and we learn how to play words that we think can beat our parents. Folks, in order to be good at something, you have to lose a lot of games in order to get there. And trust me, it was not easy trying to beat my mom. And the very first time I did it, I was like, wow, that was interesting. You know, and you got to look back and you say to yourself, I've come a long way. And we all have come a long way. There are also documentaries and books that are related to Scrabble. There's also dictionaries, travel editions. One of the things that, of course, everybody plays now is Scrabble on the computer, especially on Pogo. I have been known to play and host the Scrabble Club myself. And I think anybody who has a group of friends on the internet and wants to play it, go right ahead, do it. It gets everybody in there. And, of course, you have to have an honor system when playing it. But I'll tell you, once you set it up with the way you want to set it up, with little modifications, anybody can create a Scrabble club, and you just keep everybody in check if you're the head of that club. I think Scrabble is going to continue to go beyond, and if it was 1938 that this whole started, we are now in the 84th year. It's amazing. So only 16 more years and Scrabble can be officially 100 years old. And I'll be around in 16 more years to see that 100th anniversary edition. There was a 60th anniversary, and I'm probably surprised to note that there was also Super Scrabble as well. Super Scrabble has 200 tiles, double the amount of spaces, higher scoring, and I think they even have a times 4, or if you had triple, this one was 4 times on a double word, quad score. All in all, I can say that with this game, it's very versatile. Anybody can play it at any age, at any level, and we all have fun playing it. And so get your kids involved. It's great for spelling and showing them how words connect and make other words, and also to upwards, where you stack the letters. That was pretty much a derivative of Scrabble. There are lots of what I like to call other versions of Scrabble, like Words with Friends, which everybody seems to play. And says, oh, Jason, how come you don't play that one? I play the original because that's all I know. And yes, I've played Super Scrabble on numerous occasions, and I must say the scores do go up and they're higher. But what I started to realize, the trick that I learned over by playing on the computer, is that the computer was allowing 2-letter words and Q without U. That's right. That means you could make Q words without the letter U following it. And there's a whole slew of permissible words because they've had to update the dictionary, and Scrabble has an updated Scrabble dictionary for gameplay. And I guarantee you all the words with Q without U are in there. One final thing to mention about this game is that not only did it make TV history with Chuck Woolery's version and, of course, Scrabble Showdown, I bet you it has the potential to really come back on TV again in the format of the Woolery version. I'd like to see, with, of course, if Chuck is game enough to host it, because he's retired and he's doing radio podcasting. I believe he can still host it, or, get one of the other hosts that are up and coming to host it. But make it to where the new rules apply and that there's more money involved when solving the puzzles that they give for clues. That's all I can think of for Scrabble, and I hope that you enjoyed this little brief presentation of a game that goes back to 1938. Next time on the program, we're going to look at a toy. I'm not going to tell you what kind of toy, but it's one that you probably remember growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. And there's a whole slew of toys out there that, And when we define a toy, not only when we talk about a specific character or an action figure, or, just to give you an idea, we're going to look deeper into that toy because there are other areas to explore. So not only are we going to scratch the surface, but we're going to dig deeper into those areas as we go along in this series. See you on Wednesday for another edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games right here on YouTube. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Advertising Network for great more content like this one.